All right, good evening, everybody. First of all, my name is Jay Hatch. I'm the Recreation Director for the City of Madeira Beach. Put together the meeting, the presentation. So, first of all, a couple quick things. If you need to use the restroom, you go out that door right there. There are 2 restrooms there, so at any point you need to go. I have the presentation set up for a questions portion. So if you have questions, please just write them down, and we'll get to that. I want to make sure that I'm able to cover everything. I may answer some questions before we get there, but at the same time, you may have a similar question to somebody else, so we'll cover that. There are microphones. This is being recorded, so we can watch it back if we need to. So there's a microphone at each table. If we're going to have questions with that, we'll make sure we use the microphone with that. And that way your question's heard on the recording. We've had some previous issues with that, so we just want to make sure everybody's heard, and then that way if it's watched back, people understand what I'm saying in response to you. And then lastly, there are 3 handouts that are on the table back there. I see most of you have them. If you don't, there's one is the presentation that I'm presenting. You're more than welcome to take that with you. The second is the proposed layout of what's been worked on thus far. And the last thing is kind of a little questionnaire that I've put together to help provide feedback when we go to send this back to the folks that are helping us design, or when we decide what the next steps are. Those forms will help us out. And there's also a section on there for you to, if you want to, you can put your name and your email, and that will get you in the contact list for future meetings regarding this project. So that way we can loop everybody in, stay consistent. At the very least, there's definitely going to be another one of these discussions, workshop. So after we have this discussion and feedback and everything, I encourage you to talk to your neighbors, anybody else that you know might utilize a facility of this, potential, and give us feedback. We want to make sure that if it moves forward, that we are doing something that makes sense for the entire community and is usable for everybody and isn't just there to be there. So if you have an urgent question that's like unclear on what I'm saying, just raise your hand and we'll call on you. But if you've got questions overall, we'll go to that question section. So everybody good? Perfect. Well, first, and I don't know if I said it, but thank you all for showing up. I know it's a Thursday night, 6 o'clock. So we got a sunset. I'll try to get us out of here before then. But thank you, guys. So this is the Concession Indoor Facility Project Community Workshop. Looking at the agenda here, I've got 6 quick steps that we want to run through. One is the proposed project overview, provide the purpose, the history, and the vision of what we're looking to do. 2 is a conceptual plan and design. These are very early. Please understand that this meeting right here is like step 1 or 2 in a very long timeline. So we're not looking to build this thing tomorrow. We're looking to find funding, all that stuff. And I'll run through that as we go. 3, future uses of the facility, how it would be used, what we can do with our existing programs, how we can fulfill it with other programming, and so forth. And then 4 is proposed funding sources. What have we spent so far and why? And then where's the money going to come from, and where else are we going to look? 5, that is that question feedback section. Is there anything I didn't cover, anything you want to know? And, just in general. And then 6 would be the next steps. Where do we go from here after this meeting? So, proposed project overview. The purpose of the facility. So, what we're looking at is a multi-use indoor space. You guys do have the design in front of you. I am going to walk you through that. But it is a proposed mixed-use, multi-use indoor space for all sorts of things. Residential use, youth leagues, tournaments, fitness classes, senior activities, facility rentals, community programs, and probably 50 other things that I haven't thought of or included on this. We're looking for something that if you've got a thought in your head and it can fill the room and it can bring community and become a gathering place, that's what we want. The Little League out here, the King of the Beach events, the Merry Market, other stuff that takes place out here are all examples of that, and we want to be able to enhance that. So, and again, also, I hope number 2 we never have to use, but I put serve as a resiliency hub during storms or emergencies. After what we just went through last October, November, we use this room over here, the City Center room, and this room here is a gathering place for resources and all sorts of stuff. So this would be built properly, first of all, and second of all would be an opportunity, if that happens again, hope not, that we can utilize that space as a gathering space for cooling and recovery and whatever else we need to. So it's unfortunate that we have to look into the future and think that way, but we need to make sure that we are. So, and then I mentioned earlier the create a central gathering place for events, meetings, cultural programs that currently lack a dedicated venue. So there's opportunity there, and we can work through that. So history and context of the site and how we came to this place. The existing concession facility contains 2 restrooms and a concession area that's only designed for packaged food sales. So for a Little League organization or a Babe Ruth baseball softball organization that serves 350 families or 350 kids, fewer families, we have 2 restrooms. Our King of the Beach, collegiate tournaments, every event out there, there's 2 restrooms. We have to open up indoor restrooms in both facilities to get by, or we bring in additional restrooms. So that's one of the identified. When we've talked to Visit St. Pete Clearwater and other agencies that help bring in tourism to this facility, that's the number one thing that they identify as a challenge. Number one complaint they get, people will come out here, they can play softball and baseball, they can fish, they can go to the beach, they love all that. We don't have restrooms. Parking's number 2, that's a whole nother discussion at another time, but we all are very aware of that. I just went through that, past events, Founders Day, King of the Beach, all that. A strong demand for more amenities. So having this facility and something that can be used for that would be helpful. And then for the programs that we run now, we utilize the Madeira Beach Fundamental School facility. They have a basketball gym over there. We utilize that for the basketball program. And then the rest of the year, we're fighting PTSA meetings or the YMCA or other programming. And then plus with the storm, plus with school security, there is a legitimate concern that it may not become available to us. And we have a core program that utilizes that. We do utilize this room here as well, this city center room for fitness classes. Our cardio drumming, there's some of them here. That group uses that room and fills that room 7-8 times a week. So when we're doing that, it's great that we're filling it with that activity, but it's also an opportunity that we could be using it to host community meetings. We do host a lot of condo board associations, the chamber, other stuff. So there's being able to move some stuff around and put recreation activities in a more recreation-based facility would allow for more uses for other facilities as well. So it's not just, not just looking to do it, it's putting some stuff in the right places and allowing need and use for other facilities to be capitalized on as well. So then we have a vision statement for this. So the new facility will enhance Madeira Beach recreation and community life, providing spaces that support wellness, youth development, tourism, civic engagement for decades to come. We've had previous commissions, and including this one as well, that have talked about enhancing the quality of life. That's the biggest, from my department's perspective, the biggest feedback that we get on what we do and what we present is, as a recreation department, is our goal to enhance the quality of life and make sure that your tax dollars, and in this case, it's a little different, and I'll get to that, but your tax dollars are increasing enhancing the quality of life, and then allowing us to promote active lifestyles, creating economic value through all of this. So it's something that not only is going to provide opportunity for you all as residents to utilize and enjoy, but also for those events and everything else that we bring in, enhance those activities. So this is the concept plan and the proposed design. That is that second 2-page sheet I have for everybody there, and I will do a quick run through. And again, this is very basic. We're showing just kind of a quick proposed floor plan that was drawn up. The external part of it is down the line, like what it's going to look like and all that would be discussed much further down the line. So there's no need for that in this point. So looking at this, so there's 2 pages, they're numbered 4 and 5. And for transparency purposes, the rest of it, 1, 2, and 3, again, I said the external stuff, they took some liberties with their type of design. You know, everybody designs stuff to win an award. It wasn't at all what we were looking for, so I'm not even going to freak you out or include that in this. There's no point in us losing sleep over that part of the discussion. And for us to get anything updated by the meeting would have cost us more money, and that was unnecessary for us to spend. So this basic floor plan is what we're based off of, and it's not final, and that's a lot of the feedback that we're looking for and potential uses help shape this room, whether we need more storage, whether we need a bigger area in certain areas, however that works. So looking at page 4, which is if you go on the yellow side, it should say basketball. That essentially is what would be a multi-use room, 5,300 square feet. So it would have the ability to have a basketball court in it, 3 pickleball courts. I know that's the big one that everybody's been asking me, that would go across. Volleyball is another inclusion. And then we can use it for pretty much anything else that we would need to. We've had previous events when we had the old basketball court. The library used to do an event where they did food and wine, and it raised money for the library. This is something that we could do inside, partner with them. We could do book fairs. We could do anything. Seminole does card shows. It really boils down to what the community is interested in and wants to use it for, and how we can program in a way that we have stuff going on. Now, throughout the week, when we look at, Monday through Friday, and it's not your ideal event time, that's when we program it for, this time to this time is cardio drumming. This time to this time is pickleball or whatever else. And then I would treat this in my discussions similar to the way we treat the fitness center, where you would have a membership and you would be able to use it. And it would just, if we do programming with classes, that's got a different rate, but we would make it so it's usable for the residents. And I know, especially summertime and almost every day of the year, it's too hot to even be outside to do some of this stuff. So to give you an idea, and I did mention, we've got a couple classes that are using rooms that are, I want to say 1,800 square feet, 1,700 square feet. So that shows you how much of a larger group that they could have and enjoy that. And then for us, from the childcare side of the programming, that's about 50% of what we do. Summer camp, anytime we need to take them to an indoor facility, we have to bus them somewhere else. So we have to do field trips. We don't have the opportunity to do this. It's raining, they're inside watching movies, and that's not what we're looking to do. So this is something that, and from a 5,300 square foot perspective, childcare licensing is 25 square feet per kid, which is 5 by 5. We definitely give them more space than that. We're not going to go, but that would allow us to add 200 children to the program. We're not going to get that far because, again, that would be a lot of children in there. I think it's like 200 something, I think I just said. But so then going into the other side, the orange part of the building, this is where we start to address some of the other needs. The concession area and food storage area is a facility that between the Babe Ruth organization, the third party that we utilize for weekend tournaments, and ourselves for summer camp or whatever else would be a joint use. Or there's still discussions that would have to be had in contracts and all that, but an opportunity for, and again, concessions isn't going to pay off a whole building, but it's a revenue generator for the programs. And it offers, if you're coming to play basketball or pickleball, we've got water for sale or whatever else. So there's some amenities there that we don't currently offer. From a restroom perspective, we would go as proposed. It's 2 toilets to 16. I think the number for some reason in my head is 20, so maybe adding a few more. I've set it up, the design, as a rest area style restroom. So if we need to lock off one section for outdoor events or lock off another section for indoor events, it can be used and the buildings can still be secure. And then looking at the other rooms that are on there, a lot of storage. If you go to any of the buildings that were built previously, storage is a premium, and we want to make sure that we get that right with this. We're not going to, skimp on that part of it. And then there is an elevator listed kind of in the center of that corridor on the orange part, and then as well as, actually here, forgot I had the mouse. Elevator about right here in their lobby corridor, and then there are stairs for the second area as well. So going to the next page, looking at how this building continues to be used and how it's going to be run, we did plan a couple places for office space as well as a conference room. And again, looking at training opportunities for rentals, or, we've talked about this could be a use for our social club during the day. They have their meetings here, but they don't have like a room that they can just, a lot of cities have like a senior center and they allow them to have a room that's got activities and different things in it. So it's another gathering place. But this multi-purpose room upstairs provides an opportunity for, if you look at our travel tournaments, the umpires are jammed in the gym for the weekend. This would be something they could use. If you look at the King of the Beach fishing tournaments, they typically are looking for an office to operate out of. This would be something that could be provided. Again, condo board meetings, any sort of use, and that's why it's multi-purpose. It would be used probably for us with after-school care. We could get the children out of this room and put them in, again, in a recreation-specific area, and also into the into the gym that would allow that. But it's focusing that recreation dynamic into a recreation specific area. So we utilize this because we've had enough demand and we've had enough success with it that we could do it here. But it's presented challenges, not problems, just challenges that we've had to overcome with different meetings, utilizing this room a lot more, which is good. But we've got other opportunity there. And then looking up at the top part of this, I guess it would be the north side of the building in this. It says observation and tournament director. The tournament director, we would look actually, if you go back to this page, probably to put it around here and eliminate a little bit of that storage. That's for when we have stuff on site, teams check in, the tournament director's got to do something else. Some of them sit outside and, whatever. But it's another, let's enhance it so we've got tournament directors that are trying to make this a location that they want to host at and be a part of. So, and if we do events or if we do, something where a Rotary Club is here supporting an event and they want to sell tickets, they can use that as a ticket booth. Or, there's, again, a lot of uses for that. And then these observation rooms, it lists 3. I think we would turn that tournament director into 2 more, so there'd be 5. In conversations with Visit St. Pete Clearwater, you guys may or may not know, but Clearwater hosts a lot of national collegiate softball tournaments. We do host collegiate softball as well. We don't have the facility that, we've got the water. They've got a bunch of trees. That's a whole nother conversation too. But we've got the facility location that everybody wants to come visit. And it's an opportunity in the future with this and a few other improvements that we could be televising games. That's a whole nother dream down the road, but it's an opportunity, again, to advertise Madeira Beach and to increase that level of service, and as well as the economic impact for these things and really get the name out there. So building these in is an opportunity for that down the road, but in the immediate future, we do have tournaments where there are college coaches that are here recruiting, and there are people that need to sit inside or whatever. So it's just an opportunity for that, and it's also, again, it's usable workspace in case there's a need. So that's another float for that. If I have any immediate question, yes.
Like you keep mentioning Clearwater, why are we comparing ourselves to Clearwater?
Sorry, could you use a microphone so we can hear you?
So you keep mentioning Clearwater. Why are we comparing ourselves to Clearwater? Because I don't want no Clearwater here. I mean,
Yes.
like, want to go to the West Coast or compare to something quaint? Because Clearwater, like, every time you mention it, I get on my nails.
And that's fair, and from here on out, I'll stop.
But like you said,
Yes.
for someone that works for the government, and I talk to my peers, and I always ask them, what did you do? Like, what do you do? I don't go to the people that are in my area. I go and explore different states. Mm-hmm. So have you talked to any of them?
So I'll answer that. The reason I mentioned them specifically is specifically related to softball. It's just a comparison thing in the county. So the funding that we get, and that we'll get to that funding portion too. Most of the funding that we get comes from Visit St. Pete Clearwater, which is or VSPC, which is it's a branch of Pinellas County government. So a lot of the events that they bring through are either fed to them or fed to us. And it's not a comparison. It's just for conversation. We have things that we do very well and that we are very proud of and that we are going to be focused on. I'm not looking to host a softball tournament that's bringing in 2 top teams. We don't have anywhere to park. We don't have it. There's a lot of things from a facility perspective that we lack. But again, looking out the window and looking at the water, there's a lot of things that we can focus on. So I look at the future of the facility, but only in the way that it serves us now. Like, I'm not looking to go crazy. I'm not looking to build a stadium out there. And that's what other cities are doing with their funding. I'm looking for something that will serve the people in this room, but also when we have these events that are similar to them, that we have something to offer from an attractive standpoint from getting those events.
But like, are you looking for the amount of people coming here? Or like, how do you define revenues coming into the town?
Well, and so these travel tournaments and these collegiate tournaments that you do are the revenue generators that we bring. And that to us is it covers the cost for these events and brings in some additional revenue. But most of what we do and most of the purpose of the Seafood Festival and other events like that is that tourism tax dollars. It's bringing the heads and beds, which is, again, that's when we get to the funding portion of this, that explains where that funding comes from. So yeah, of course, that was a good question. That's fair. And again, I know that's kind of the faux pas discussion and saying that. So yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. So I did leave that part out. Sorry about that. So if you look at the, are you guys all familiar that we got the basketball court and the 2 tennis courts out there? So actually, I'll just do this. Let me see if it'll pull up. All right. So pulling up Google Maps. So if you were to all right, so looking at this, the orange portion of the building would be centered here. You guys all see that? Zoom in a little bit more. Would be centered here. And the idea of that is it does view that field too. And there is a little bit of a patio on the outside that views all 3 fields. So that gives you the opportunity to see everything. And again, when it's not being used for special events or anything else like that, it's an opportunity. There are families that can not only stand upstairs, but they can also, there is an overhang, which is, again, another thing we lack out there. The indoor enclosure would go over this tennis court that's closest to the playground. So yeah, so facing towards field 2 out this way, you would be looking directly this way towards the water.
Are the tennis courts being relocated or replaced?
So the one tennis court would remain, and again, part of that's something that isn't included in this. But as far as looking at that tennis court, I have no interest in increasing the service of all of these facilities and then just leaving the tennis court as existing. So we would look at putting windscreen up and improving the net system. And it is split right now between tennis and pickleball. I would most likely, depending on feedback, make that a tennis court only. And that way there's no confusion, there's no nets moving, all that. If you're going to play pickleball, the indoor facility is the option, and then that gives you other options. And then as far as that, just enhancing that, it wouldn't be a huge expense to enhance the things that we want to enhance in the tennis side. But we would leave that court there, and then the other stuff would take.
What's the building in the back for?
Building in the back, that's the rec center. So that's where it's after-school programming, facility rentals, summer camp. We do some fitness classes in there.
Why do we need both buildings?
What's that?
Why do we need both buildings?
So from a programming perspective, I mean, we can, and that's a fair question. The question was, why do we need both buildings? That's a fair question. From a facility, from an operation standpoint, we're already using 2 buildings. We're using City Hall for some of our programming, facility rentals, all that stuff. To get us back, I mean, we could absolutely forge ahead status quo and continue that and just continue with the challenges. And that's one way to do it. Or this would be an enhancement in what we offer, and then as well as utilizing a facility of our own instead of having to utilize the school's facility. Or even there was a season, this might have been right after COVID, we had to utilize Seminole because we ran our program, we had registrations, and we ended up running a basketball program with Seminole at their facility because we couldn't get on the school property because of COVID restrictions. So I think it's protecting the future of the consistency of our programming and allowing us to continue to build that stuff. So
Yeah, I guess, am I allowed to ask questions right now? Am I speaking?
yeah,
I guess what I was not saying that this isn't a good idea. What I'm saying is that building not sufficient to put a basketball court, to put concessions in?
no.
Maybe make it bigger, because there's a lot of land out there that no one's using too, right?
Well, yeah, from a special event perspective, I mean, if you drive by the school right now, the soccer field that we use is dirt. They had to completely, I mean, you saw the portables were out there all the
It
time.
won't be dirt forever.
Right. Well, and that's right. And we have a joint use agreement with them, and they're a lot less strict with the use of that facility. So we're not really that concerned about it. But with the size of the league and the special events, I mean, King of the Beach and some other events that take place out here, we go for a couple weeks of just inability to use this facility due to what it's left as. So it's, yes, there's land out there, but it is being used for a lot of other things at this time. So, all right. So I'll jump into the next portion. I mentioned the future uses. So we're looking at, again, this is where we look at it. Daily community uses, fitness classes, general recreation programs. I mentioned youth programming, after school care, senior activities and wellness programs we offer them, sports leagues and facility rentals. There's a lot of demand for travel ball organizations to utilize it and pay for that as well. And then I mentioned multi-use facility flexibility, basketball, volleyball, pickleball, and other athletic events. I mean, with the children, there's a lot of flexibility. So special events, anytime we host anything out there on the fields, it's an opportunity for us to use as an indoor vendor space. We can do, I mentioned the library stuff, markets, fairs, anything. The expanded restroom capacity is a huge, that really is what was the driving force of this in the beginning. So that kind of grew a little bit and wanted to make sure we could serve the other stuff. Enhanced concession operations, so that's a revenue generating opportunity. The community events supporting local organizations, nonprofits, and then a dedicated event office for planning and coordination. Sorry, I'm giving you guys and then additional, so regional opportunities. It strengthens Madeira Beach's role as a travel sports hub, particularly the softball and other youth organizations. Provides additional practice and tournament space for travel teams. And then for conferences, there's a lot of coaches conferences that like to go to nice beachy places and have facilities. So being able to do field work, like umpire training, the collegiate umpires could come stay at the hotel, train on the fields, go up into one of the multi-use facilities and do classroom work and review footage and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And then additional use opportunities, we said Chamber of Commerce, business expos, networking events. I've talked to the fire department and Pinellas County Sheriff's Office about additional training spaces. They do a lot of water training here, and then they use classroom space. So this would offer them the opportunity to go utilize the basketball courts and whatever else for it. And then I mentioned the meeting rooms for upstairs for multi-purpose use.
How do we get reimbursed for that usage from youth leagues or whatever, whoever uses those facilities?
So there's different rental fees, there's different contracts with the league and the organization, and there's.
Because like when I looked at the financials, I didn't see anything that just popped up.
Okay. So what, for reimbursement of?
For using the facilities. Like when you bring all those organizations, like obviously there is incremental cost.
Correct.
So like how is that being
So
recorded?
we capture revenue for anything that's through Visit St. Pete Clearwater through facility rental fees. and that's all billed to the county, who then pays us for it. Special events, most of the special events that are hosted here receive funding, and that's where this next funding and financials portion is received through that. So through sponsorships, Seafood Fest is a $50,000 sponsorship. Both of the King of the Beach events are $25,000 sponsorship each from the county. The Merry Market that has been hosted here the last 4 or 5 years is now receiving funding from the county. I don't know the exact number, so I don't want to say anything, but it's more than zero, which is what they got last time. So it is increasing, and it's continued opportunity for us to find events that allow that funding to come in. And again, the tough one, and I know this is we've had this conversation a lot in my last 11 years here, but the tough one is that incremental impact from tourism, the tourism tax dollars. Having people here, I can spit out numbers that they've provided, but I don't know the math that got us there. But on a weekend when we have softball, I can walk you down to the trash can and show you the Ferbatis pizza boxes and that kind of stuff. So we know they're spending the money. It's just that measurable part. There are formulas and calculators for that. And in the presentation for some of the funding that we were going to seek for this, I have to prove that too. So there's a lot more work to be done, but that's, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so funding and financials. This kind of gives you a picture of where we're at now and what we're looking at in the future. If you guys come to any meeting, anytime we present, Commissioner Kerr's first question is going to be, where's the grant money? So this page is for him. He'll have to see it some other time. So cost to date, we did use a continuing services agreement with Collier's Engineering. We've got a couple of groups that we have agreements with on that. To date, we have spent $13,430 on this. So we've had 4 separate meetings, 2 separate drawings. The one you guys see in front of you, that's where we are now. The full contract price, which would get us from here up to essentially a ready to bid design, is $53,025. So that's looking at, again, feedback that we have from a couple of these events. We may not get to that number, but if we have different feedback and we are going to continue to move forward, it would get to that number. But again, that's part of the due diligence for this. If the community is not for it, we won't do it. But if we see some support, some other conversation that looks like it's going to go in the one direction, we will. So, and again, final project costs would come out of that. Again, that design will help us get a better look at what we're going to spend on that. So we're looking at land prep, construction, furnishings, contingencies, and we're going to look into, some of the long-term costs as far as what is, and that's in here later, but, what's the HVAC contract going to look like? We're going to need to know operational costs for that. So from a funding sources perspective, and looking at that $53,025, we had that allocated out of the loss fund. It's the local option sales tax. And it's a penny for Pinellas is the more common. That's a 1% sales tax that is collected and then divvied back to the cities specifically for projects like this. There's a lot of, if you go around Pinellas County, there's libraries, rec centers, fire stations, all sorts of projects that have been built for this fund. So it's an infrastructure tax that helps us get to where, certain communities want to be. So looking at that, the FY26 budget has $500,000 budgeted for concession and $500,000 budgeted for the multi-purpose facility. The key word in that is budgeted. We have not spent, and we will not spend it without many conversations here and many more conversations in the community. So I know it scares people when we look at it. That's $1 million sitting there, but it is budgeted, and it's one of those that will sit in the loss fund. And I hate that we call it the loss fund, but it's easier to say that. We didn't lose it. It's just local option sales tax. It will sit there until we expend it. And if my project or this project for the rec center is not one that ends up using it, then something else in the city will probably be identified and spent on it. So that's why we look at it. We're all, from an infrastructure perspective, we all want to make sure that we're not taking money out of the general fund, which is the true tax dollars, and then go after, utilize this. The next part is the hard part, the targeted funding. So Visit St. Pete Clearwater has a capital projects funding program that in 2000, I'm not going to do dates because I'll get them wrong, but previously they committed a lot of money, and at that point they put the program on hold for, I want to say, 8 years. We had this budgeted last year because we were being told that it might come back up. Well, it came back up and it was open for a month. So in a month, I was supposed to get a economic impact survey, have all these designs drawn, have all these meetings, all that stuff, all of the month. So long story short, and that's why this thing's down here, the application requires a shovel-ready design and an economic impact study, and then there's various other things that are needed. So having this design as one piece of it, an economic impact study, they've got a few vendors that they use that provide a rate specifically for them, and again, that would come to the commission. And, you know, there's a lot of checks before that to happen, but making sure that their whole goal is they will help fund a project dollar for dollar. So if we've got $1 million budgeted, they'll match up to $1 million or less, or, you know, however it works out. And they need proof that it's going to provide more heads and beds. So if these tournaments are coming, they need to know that this increase in the infrastructure and the improvements in the facility are going to help with the special events that we have and those tournaments that we have and everything else. So there's potentially 50% of the funding right there, as long as we, you know, continue on that path and get all the information collected and provided to them. They're looking at changing that program to be a rolling one, to work with a one-on-one with communities rather than just opening it up for everybody. So they open it up, they rank them, and then they fund them by ranking. Well, they've decided that now it might look like a better use of their time if they just take the projects as they come in and the funding's available and rank them individually on their own merit and the value that they serve to the community. So, and then one portion of that is they have geographically based point system. And between us and some of the other neighboring cities here, we've not received this funding at all. There's never been one of the categories is beach renourishment. Well, we've got the groins, so we don't qualify for that one. Another one is the athletic facilities or museums, or, you know, up until recently, we haven't had an athletic facility that brought in tourism. That's happened within the last 10, 11 years. It was built with the intention of bringing more people to the beach, but also serving the community. So if you talk to our youth organization out there, and the mayor knows and some others know, that it's very popular, it's very busy, and it's a shared facility that we've got to make right for everybody, residents and those users and everybody else. So additional funding available. We do have the Madeira Beach Culture and Recreation Impact Fee. That's restricted to, I think the wording on this is a typo. It says restricted to enhancements of current services and offerings. It's not restricted to that. It needs to be, if we have a building, we can't use it to paint said building. If we have more of an impact, like the fees are imposed because whatever construction is built has a larger impact on the community. Therefore, if we've got a 10,000 square foot building, we can't just fix that 10,000 square foot building. We need to enhance that building by 2,500 square feet. That funding can be used for that addition. So that's, if that makes sense. It's, the idea is to increase services based on the perceived impact of those facilities. So again, that typo is weird. I don't even know if my explanation made it better, but I hope it did. And then the last part, this special opportunity funding, this is, since I got here, this is a little pocket of money that's been in the budget and held on to that I've had my eye on in a kind of a humorous way, but in a serious way. I'm very passionate about looking for renewable energy sources that we can place either on our roofs or, you know, whether it's the rec center or this facility. There is a portion of money from the BP oil spill settlement that is still sitting with the city that we haven't identified as a project. And I think it would be newsworthy if we spent BP oil money on solar projects, and would be happy to brag about that. So that's where another opportunity I think is available there. So, and again, if we're going to be building a facility, I think between the enhancements in the LED lights out there that have already cut energy costs over the last 4 or 5 years, having a solar array on the roof that would pay for the building as well as those lights and help offset costs down the road would be another valuable thing. So And again, I mentioned operational costs. We would still have to look at utility staffing, enhancement of the cleaning contract, HVAC maintenance, general preventative maintenance and repairs. And I'm sure there's 5 or 10 other things that I'm forgetting, but that's just a general. We're not to that point yet. And we want to make sure that we are aware and we need to be thinking about those things, but we're just not quite there yet. And then from a revenue opportunities perspective, this is where eventually some sort of business model or whatever needs to be written up and included. Facility rentals for events, programs, private use, membership opportunities. Most of the things that we offer now are specific, like the fitness center, specifically to residents. If we're going to have non-residents utilizing the facility in the same manner, there would be a fee structure associated with that. That's typical of what we do. Event hosting, again, working with VSPC, bringing in those international groups or whoever else that want to come here and utilize the facility. Partnering with schools, nonprofits, local businesses, and expanded use of the rec center room, the city center room that currently serves other programming needs. So this is a very popular room as far as weddings and everything else, but especially with after school care, if we've got a Friday wedding at 4:00, well, we can't get out of that room until 6 because of the licensing of everything. And so it's just, again, it opens up. Those are small things, but it opens up opportunities. All right, the question for you, yes.
I want to ask you about the fitness center. I mean, I work for a living, so the fitness center hours don't fit with my schedule. So is there any way we could expand those hours?
That's something we can discuss after this. Let's talk about that after. I just want to stay on. I know we got people might have places to be, so I want to stay focused on that. Does anybody have any questions? I think I see Mr. Hendricks is.
I've got a comment or a few comments.
Yes, sir.
As well as questions. You know, we have a building, the building department was enclosed. And if you'll remember a year ago, we had 2 hurricanes.
Yes, sir.
And that $1 million build out of downstairs of City Hall was ruined. And we're looking at another $1 million to repair that building. Honestly, the items that you've got listed are pretty minimal revenue generators. I think our priorities are messed up. We haven't totally recovered from these hurricanes. If anything, if we're using money to go out and build something, we need to get Public Works off this island and get it to high ground. This would be great, but we're not a big city. We're under 4,000. Are any of the other small cities along here talking about contributing to this? This is a community building that you're talking about, not just a Madeira Beach building. Treasure Island needs to contribute. The Reddingtons need to contribute. But for this city, with all we've got going on, with many of our streets deteriorating, with storm sewers deteriorating, with seawalls deteriorating, with no public works building and renting property over across from the VA hospital to even park our trucks, I think our priorities are very messed up. And I'm totally against this.
Okay, I can't speak for the others. I'm not going to speak for another department. And I appreciate the feedback. Look, I understand. We've been here through all of this. I can't say I've experienced everything because I don't live out here, but we've experienced more than we ever expected from a staff perspective on that. I can say from a positive, if any positive came out of downstairs, we have learned lessons. I have a sheet here from Marcy that explains, and I'll let you see it. It may not change your mind, but provides all the information on base flood elevation, design flood elevation, and basically everything that would be expected of this building. Because we are not interested at all in a repeat of downstairs. And that's my responsibility to learn a lesson, and if we move forward, make sure we get it right. So that's That's the feedback I have. And I understand the other concerns, and that's why looking at the loss fund, excuse me, and finding other funding opportunities is, if I could have somebody give us 100% of the money, I'd take that route every single time. So that's what we're focused on. Now, I won't say give us the money, but we're going to earn it through other opportunities. So that's just to give you that. Yes, ma'am.
My question was going to be,
Mind grabbing a mic just so we can. Sorry, I know that makes some people uncomfortable, but
can you hear out of this?
yes,
Okay.
perfect.
My question was going to ask if the ground floor, does that plan on, if that's going to be elevated then?
So with this, so again, I'm pointing at a sheet that I didn't provide, but there are two options for flood-proofing of the building. One, it can be constructed on elevated columns, all that stuff. That's not ideal for this particular situation. The design flood elevation for this facility and in this zone would be 14 feet. The ground it sits on right now is at 6 feet, 6 to 7. I'm going to go with 6, knowing that, yeah. So we've got 8 feet, if my math is right, that we would have to design as dry flood proofed. So we would look at panels, we would look at thicker walls, all of that stuff. And that's where, again, that's where the conversation comes out and finding what these costs are, because we may get through some of this and go, whoa, like, I'm already uncomfortable saying some of the numbers I've said, and I don't want to get any further than that. That just makes, so we want to make sure that it is designed that way. We're looking at fewer doors, but it's got to be safe fire-wise, making sure that it is engineered properly, built properly, and dry flood proofed with panels. So the answer is it might be slightly elevated with a little bit of fill, but at a point where it's ADA accessible still. That's first and foremost. We can't do anything without that. And then making sure that if it is fill or whatever else, it's engineered properly, and concrete and rebar and all that stuff is done to the right level. So, and again, I wouldn't present it as an opportunity for us to use after a storm if it was a building that we couldn't even build it if it wasn't a building that wasn't be able to use after the storm. So we've got what we have to follow based on flood zone AE 11 coastal A zone. That's what it says on that sheet. So, and Marcy, a lot of the conversations I've had, Marcy's already talked to Colliers as well. Like, don't even bother coming back to us with something that doesn't match this, because we've learned more than we should have learned through lessons in that manner. So, anybody else? Yes, ma'am. If I can hear you, that's one thing. It's just, again, it's recorded, so we want to make sure. Yes, ma'am.
Yep. So I have to agree with what he said. While I can see maybe improving the concession stand and restroom facilities out there, because there are a lot of tournaments here,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And so it would be nice to have upgrade in that area. I'm not for this. I think, we need so many other improvements in our city with the streets and the flooding and getting all of our facilities on this, part of the island or someplace off the island. So to me, it seems like a limited audience, since there's so few residents here that would actually use this facility. So I'm all for the, build up of the restrooms and the concession stand, because, we have baseball games, but the rest of it, I'm not in favor of.
Well, I'll tell you, I am for it. I'm a jock, so I want more facilities. But it's not just the people, the 4,000 people that live here that are going to use it. People from other communities are going to come here and use it. They're going to rent those facilities for other things, and we're going to have a lot of other revenue-generating things that will help to offset some of these costs. Everybody's talking about public works and the building department downstairs. Well, they built that supposedly, and it was okay. And didn't they buy flood panels to put down there? And then from what I was told, they put those in incorrectly, and that's why it's still flooded. So the public works, that's for Megan and the public works department to deal with, and the rec center is what Jay has to deal with. And so this money's not going to affect public works And just like his money's, not going to affect the marina or the building department or anything like that. You have bigger rooms, bigger classes, you're going to get more people in there and spend more money, and we get a percentage of that every time there's a class or something like that going on, too. And it's just going to make Madeira Beach that much better, in my opinion.
Is that on?
Yes.
So I was going to say, I'm actually in favor of it as well. I think you're thinking farther down into the future, and it's not something that's going to be there tomorrow. It's not something that's going to be there a week from now, but you're thinking forward of what do we want to do in the future to plan it out. I think the current facility that's down there, if you've had kids that are down there, if you've got the after-school care, the summer program, that can all be enhanced. It is difficult to get kids into those sometimes because there's very few spots. I mean, you're full most of the time for those programs. I think having additional facilities will help. I think in the summertime, it's brutal out there to try to sit and play sports outside. You don't see the facilities that are currently there being utilized as much because it is so hot. So I think this isn't something that would be done for tomorrow, but you have to start thinking about it if you want to get these plans in place to be able to do anything when those funding source opportunities open up. So you have to have it at least thought of and start the planning process. And I think if you build additional facilities, people will come in and utilize it, both local and people that are coming from surrounding areas as well.
And actually, I do appreciate you mentioning the after-school programming, and that was a number that I left out. So we are licensed for 70 kids in the rec center, and then this room over here we use for middle school. Post-COVID, we saw a dip. Obviously, a lot of people working from home. There was no need for the childcare. This year between, and again, a lot of this credit goes to staff. It has nothing to do with me other than I'm in the building with them. Staff run an amazing program. So we are looking at 70 kids with a wait list of 10 for our elementary side and a middle school program that's got nearly 40 kids in it. When we first did middle school in this room, it had like 12. And we were happy with that. We moved them here because we used to have them in that building and then we split them up. And now it continues to grow, and we have to look at it. We are a service. We are serving the community, and this is an opportunity and I always joke, so the core of our programming is those youth are in that building, and their parents come and they get married and they get remarried in our facilities or on our beach, and they have their birthday parties and their retirement parties, and they're participating in the youth leagues, and for some reason they're coming to city meetings sometimes too, but they're participating, and there's a lot of that we see. So again, it's building. Anything you do, you got to build from some sort of a core. We've identified that as the programming that we do in-house and what we're able to control. And that's another thing that allows us control, not having to worry about, are we going to have a facility next season? Because we didn't. We went through an entire summer and soccer season and a half without fields and without a gym. So it's just, again, it's planning. That's really all it is. And there are phasing opportunities too with this, the way that's why they're colored differently. One's orange, one's yellow. That's a phase 1 and phase 2 as a potential. It's tough to justify one more so than the other, and that's why I presented it all together. So just give you guys an idea. But yeah, thank you. Any other questions? And again, like I said, if you have those sheets, please fill those out. I mean, you can call me all the names and just leave the name block empty, and I'll assume. Yes?
Yeah, one more question ask, I guess, is
Sure.
I'm still trying to get over you taking out the outdoor basketball and the tennis court for this. I thought it was going to go in the back. But how often are those courts used in the evening? I don't drive by here every evening, so I don't know if they're used or not used. And the reason why I'm asking this question is when you have an indoor facility like this, it requires staff, and so it won't be open 24 hours. It won't be open later in the evening when people might be looking to do a pickup game of basketball or tennis. So you're taking away that, you're creating a facility that I may or may not be able to use because, like you said, it's open during business hours, right, where people have to work.
Right. Well, so first and foremost, that comes from a programming perspective, and that's based on the demand of things. If we had, and I don't want to say this, but if we had nobody using it, then we would fill it with people that are looking to do travel practices or whatever else. If you came in and said, hey, I've got interest in a league, I'll include myself, so a 40 and up league, then we'll do that. We'll do a 40 and up basketball league. We'll do registrations. We'll set it up. We had demand in previous years for kickball out here. We ran a very successful kickball season after some local organizations that do it as a profession told us we wouldn't. You know, we'll program based on demand. If cardio drumming comes in and says, hey, we want to have classes this day, this day, this day, and this day, then we'll work with them and do that. And then we'll work with the pickleball group and set up hours. And there are also availabilities between access controls with the fitness center. We would look to do similar stuff with the gym. If we've got access controls and we've got, we've got security cameras, we could provide that just one staff member stays a little bit extra and make sure that when the facility's closed, it's closed. From a use perspective, we do have, as silly as it sounds, we upgraded our basketball hoops this past year. If you go to a lot of city parks, they go cheap and they've got a double rim. On my staff, I've got a Division I basketball player who said, these are terrible. I'm never going to play here. Let's spend a little bit more money and upgrade them. And we have nicer hoops, nicer backboards, and it's become a popular place to play. So we know that if we have the facility, we've got staff that are interested in programming it, whether it's, again, he's D1 player, he's local high school coach. So right now he is utilizing the gym over there to run a fall high school basketball league that is showing success because we're seeing the opportunity there and fluctuating with that versus the typical leagues that are seeing less because more people are playing travel. So it's adjusting to the trends and making that happen. But it really comes, again, that's like the sheet filling out, and I know it's very early on, but that's where the demand comes from. We want to make sure that if there's an interest in something, we can make it happen, and we'll at least try it out.
Yeah, I guess so sort of back to my original question, which I made the mistake of following up with another question. You answered the second one very nicely, but the first one was really around just drop in, play tennis. So I'm a ex-northerner. When I used to come down to Florida with my parents, my dad would select a hotel based on where there's tennis facilities or, somewhere where we could run around and use all our energy. And places like that would be great because one of the things you said is we want to bring people here, get them into hotels, get them eating in restaurants. People look for outdoor activities like that. They're not going to use an indoor facility unless they're coming for a tournament or something like that. They won't know it's there. Right. They probably won't have access to it. Talk about security for every random person going in your nice new facility. It's just not going to happen. That was my concern when you said taking out a court, taking out the basketball court and tennis court. I'm thinking more on the tourist side. People want to come and use this stuff. But I was asking the question: are people actually using it?
Yeah, it has use. It's again, it's very popular. Like I said, again, the upgraded hoops. When Little League's out there, and again, parking's another thing that I haven't even discussed, but when we look at this, we're going to have to figure out parking as well for when we're doing programming or use or whatever else. I think I envision something similar to the dog park parking. Not to digress again from your question, but there is use out there. We're getting a lot of high school teams that want to come out and practice when it's off season. From a tourism perspective, you do get groups of families that come down together and they come and they play at night. It is scheduled right now for the lights to turn off automatically from a security and from an energy saving standpoint at 9:30. The lights shut off. It keeps the neighbors mostly happy, and then it basically tells people to go home. So knowing that that's taking place, I mean, we've with our current staff, and I think, again, this isn't, to me, it's not a huge staff jump. I think there's some added responsibilities for one or two people, and from the league perspective, we've got part-time staff that are always looking for more hours. And then utilizing volunteers in the community, I know that's the easy way out, but if we were to look at staffing and understanding that, we would look to schedule later hours where it is either open gym for stuff or, a minimal fee to participate and stuff. So that's, from a quality of life perspective and for the residents, it's got to make sense. And then from that tourism perspective, because again, we have people that come in and want to use the fitness center from out of town. Hey, I just want to work out 2 days this week. I'm here for 4 days. Can I get in there? And we're like, well, sorry, it's not currently offered that way. So again, it's just, it's a look at how we operate and how we do things and
Yeah.
again, adjusting. Yes, ma'am.
So do you mind if I ask to follow up my husband here?
Of course.
So our population is just under 4,000 residents, and the median age is 59.3. So just so you know, we are a older sort of community. I'm not sure there's many of us out there playing basketball. But having said that, I'm married to somebody who probably would be out there playing basketball. I kind of have to say that, when you lose your job, you tighten your belt. You don't go on holiday. This feels a little bit to me like we all lost our job. And, we all need to tighten our belt and focus on the infrastructure that we need versus the things we want. I do love the idea that you're thinking long-term. And, if we can kick this can down the road, so when, our coffers are full again and we've gotten the basics done, I think you probably have a lot more of the community who, again, is older and wants to see things like art classes and, gardening events and yoga and things that attract us out and into the, support for mental stimulation and things that older generation lead. So that's just my 2 cents. I do agree, though, if you need some toilets, add the toilets. That would be a really good idea. That can't be $1 million. And didn't you say that you can get, if we increase our infrastructure, there's some money we could tap in for that. Just add that kind of stuff on. And then maybe prioritize. I have to kind of go with what you guys said. My vote would be to prioritize, the needs. Get us a new kitchen, right? If that's a priority, or get us in that way. I mean, the infrastructure, get that set up.
For
Just
sure.
my thoughts.
No, thank you. That's good feedback. All right.
Okay, so I have one quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Every other word that you've said is league, 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 league. I'm one of those 4,000 that live here. So I'm not in a pickleball league. I'm not in a basketball league. I'm not in a baseball league. But my daughter and I like to walk over here and play tennis or play basketball or play pickleball. I'm all for the future, and I think it's a great idea, except you're taking away exactly what I as a resident want. So, I mean, the pickleball court would be in with the basketball behind all of the leagues on a Tuesday. So you're taking away what I currently have. And the fitness center sounds great that residents have it, but I can't use it because I do work for a living. So unless I come at 5 o'clock in the morning, my perception is that fitness center is for the police here and the fire department, because that's who really uses it, which is fine. But when we're looking at things like this, other than these meetings, who's sitting on there with you going, okay, well, this is what the residents want, not just leagues and bringing in people? Is there someone that's kind of balancing that out, or is that what these are for?
Well, that's what these are for, first of all.
Okay.
And then second of all, sitting with my staff and understanding how a facility would be utilized. I mean, if you go to, again, you asked about other communities, and so anytime I go on a vacation, I walk into any rec center I can get access to, and I say, let me see your program guide. Can I go in and play basketball now? Well, you can, you gotta join this, you gotta do that. There's, most places, I live in the city of Seminole, you have to have a membership card to participate in anything as a resident. If you're a non-resident, then you have to pay some exorbitant amount to join as a non-resident member, and then you're charged a different rate on top of that. So, right, exactly. Right, and I understand that.
Like you were saying, now what do I have to do in order to be able to use it? I can't just walk over here. Whereas in Seminole, I can go to Seminole City Park at any time.
Right, well, and that's, yes. And that's from a programming perspective, that's where that comes from. And again, it's based on the demand and everything. And that's, if we had, we don't typically like to put instructors out in the tennis courts because then it turns into a situation like this. But if we had the demand to offer tennis lessons, then we would be reserving that time. But if we've got, hey, we the residents want open hours during this time and this time, we're not going to, especially with the Babe Ruth organization out there, we're not going to be scheduling leagues over each other. So there's going to be a lot of there are going to be some nights that have leagues, and there's going to be some nights that it's open court and open hours and open pickleball or whatever else and community events. And it's a programming perspective. I know it sounds like I'm putting specifically programs in there, but if I program 3 hours of open space for open time use of the gym, that's programming. And I understand your point of just being able to walk over there and use it whenever. But you face that challenge if you go on a Friday night and you want to play and there's 15 kids that are playing pickup ball. So it's a challenge that we'll have to approach and face and look at, and that's where the community feedback is important. I mean, again, if we're building this for the residents and then also other things, we need to program it specifically to prioritize the residents and their needs and then go from there. Yes, ma'am. Oh, it clicked, I think.
Oh, there, I see a green light. So I'm the cardio drumming instructor, and one of the challenges that we do face being in this building is our classes are canceled. They're canceled because of weddings. They're canceled because of the voting equipment. There are certain times with the children that we can't get into the room. Our classes can be delayed. With this new building and this, will we have a dedicated area so that when we have our schedule, we can stick to that schedule, or will we still run into those same challenges that our classes can be canceled because of different events and things going on?
That's kind of the similar challenge. That's where programming comes into it. I mean, we would have a calendar, and yoga was mentioned. We do have a yoga organization, the Zumba group as well. So that's where we have to look at making sure that there is a calendar and it is set up, and we follow that, and it's programmed specifically to meet the needs of the requested usage. So. Well, yeah, she was worried about programming and canceling. I think the cancellations are going to happen. I can't stand here and say no, it's never going to happen again. I would say that what am I trying to say? The number of occurrences of cancellations would probably most definitely decrease, because we're not having, again, you mentioned the voting equipment. That one's mind-blowing still to me. We have no control over when they show up, when they leave, but we are a precinct, and they won't move it. So that's a challenge we face. That affects all programming we have. There's no social club activities, there's no cardio drumming, there's no after-school care, there's no community meeting, there's nothing. And that's for a week. But
can I just also add one thing? I mean, I teach at other rec centers, and they offer silver sneakers, which is a big draw for, I'm 60 years old myself. It brings a lot of folks in. But even saying that, this location, I can't tell you the drummers that just come for the view. It's so beautiful. It's such a nice place to exercise, to work out. I think that's a really important part of all of our futures, is staying healthy and happy. And I think that it's a really good idea to have something like this.
let me get one more question, and then I'll bring this in for a landing here. I know we've been here about an hour.
No, I was just wondering about how much revenue these programs like cardio drumming bring to the city.
Well, and that's, again, when we get to, like I said, the business model perspective of it, I don't know how often business models are run for city facilities, but I think that's the responsible and transparent thing for us to do. So that's something that we will look at. We will have to budget in the future, one, for maintenance of the facility. But we've got to look at, again, what does the after-school care program bring to it? What does the cardio drumming bring to it? What does rentals, leagues, all that stuff? So there is, I don't have an exact number right now. I can't spit all that out, but we'll work through that.
My guess would be we're trying to cover costs, and we may hopefully be doing that, but I don't think they're a big revenue generator for the city.
Well, and that's a whole philosophical conversation that I don't particularly enjoy having, because it's tough to consider recreation as a service, but also we do, if we're offering programs, I'm not adding programs that are going to be and that's the whole model of recreation is, if you're adding a program, if we wanted to do a fly fishing club, I'm not going to do that at the cost of the residents. It's got to take care of itself. So yes, you are on target with that line of thinking, but that's where we look at sponsorships and other ways to offset costs.
Could I close your night out, Jay, for you?
Yes, please.
I'd like to just say two things. Thank you, everyone, for coming so that Jay could get the feedback. But when you think about recreation and you think about what we spend on it, recreation is never a moneymaker. It's a service that we do for the community so that the community, the 4,000 people, can have the opportunity for recreation. So I think when you start looking at it, I know we're breaking out in the budget for the benefit of the recreation department to see where we spend money and where we make money. But I don't think that in recreation, in my opinion, it is ever about making money. If we break even, that's great. It's about providing a quality of life. So.
Well, and again, I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. We actually went through the building today and labeled a bunch of stuff with today's date, because if another department says, hey, we're getting rid of this, we take it. We are cheap, we're frugal, we're basically driving down the street of all the city facilities taking the stuff that they've left on the curb, because we want to make sure that we're use it or lose it. Exactly. So we labeled the stuff to say, like, hey, if we don't use this stuff in the next year, then we'll look to finally get rid of it. But if we had served food tonight, I would be taking it back to rec to probably feed our seniors tomorrow. That's how. But so we want to make sure that, one, it serves the community, but two, we're being responsible with it. So again, we go through this exercise and we get to the end of it. I'm not going to be looking for things that we absolutely don't need, but at the same time, to your point, maybe we identify what we absolutely need right now or a year from now or whenever, and let's go with that. So again, like the mayor said, I very much appreciate everyone coming. We had the mayor, two of our commissioners here this evening, so McGeehan and Vady, thank you guys for coming as well, and Mr. Hendricks as well. You were mayor for a while for us. So I will close this last part. So next steps, give you guys, I'm going to evaluate the feedback that we get from those sheets that hopefully you filled out. Identify priorities, had that in there. So we're going to go through that, and we'll provide feedback to Colliers for the next stage of design. I will add that we'll definitely have another community meeting in there. I want to make sure that, one, I'd love to have you all back, and two, bring friends, neighbors, anybody you know that might be interested in using this. From a research perspective, we need to identify additional funding opportunities, gather information and data for currently identified opportunities as well. And then last, there it is, meet with the community, review changes for feedback, provide funding updates, and provide timeline and next steps. So again, this is very, very early in the stage. I'm not going to come when this podium's facing that way and talk to the other two and the commissioners that are here now and ask for anything in the near future, especially without, there's a lot of information in here, but there's a lot of information that's not, and that's because we're just not there yet. So I just want to make sure that we're open and honest with everybody. I do understand wholeheartedly that this community is recovering. We're still getting mud out of some of our vehicles from that, and it's not a good time. But anyway, thank you all for coming. If you have any immediate questions, I'll stick around, but at the same time, please leave the sheets for me, and we'll go from there. Thank you. I'll take those. Sorry?